The greatest illusion humanity ever fell for was believing we conquered the chicken. Look at them today, crowded into industrialized complexes, scratching at backyard date, or served under the harsh glow of fast food neon. We view them as the ultimate symbol of passive domesticity, a brainless, helpless bird existing solely by our grace and for our appetite. But looking at the raw data reveals a terrifyingly different reality. Today, there are over 33 billion chickens on Earth at any given microsecond. They outnumber humans 4 to 1. They outnumber every other bird species on the planet, combined by a staggering margin. If tomorrow an alien civilization scanned Earth for its dominant life form based purely on sheer biomass and geographical distribution, they would not see humans. They would see a continuous, feathered grid blanketing the globe. This was not an accident of human agricultural planning. This was a silent, evolutionary masterstroke. The chicken did not get trapped by humanity. It successfully hijacked human civilization to achieve absolute biological immortality. To understand this quiet takeover, we must completely erase our modern image of the plump, white farm bird and journey deep into the suffocating, predator-dense bamboo jungles of Southeast Asia. Thousands of years ago, a creature known as a red jungle fowl, or Gallus gallus, moved through the shadows like a ghost. It was not a helpless creature. It was a razor-sharp, highly aggressive avian survivalist. It lived in a vertical world where every single rustle in the leaves meant a predator. Pythons, leopards, civets, and massive birds of prey was coming to kill it. To survive in this green hell, the jungle fowl developed an insanely hypersensitive nervous system, a complex language of over 30 distinct vocalizations, and a brutal social hierarchy designed to compress chaos into absolute order. They possess a spatial awareness and a rapid-fire decision-making capability that rivals modern computing. They were fiercely territorial, armed with razor-sharp leg spears, and capable of explosive, near-vertical flight into the canopy at the slightest tremor of danger. They were a weaponized lineage designed to thrive in the jaws of death. Then, a massive ecological shift occurred. The bamboo forest began to flower collectively once every few decades, dropping an unimaginable ocean of seeds onto the jungle floor. This sudden, overwhelming explosion of food triggered something ancient and highly volatile within the jungle fowl's genetic code, the ability to switch from low-rate, careful reproduction into a hyper-accelerated, unstoppable breeding machine. When food was abundant, they could produce eggs at a rate that defied standard avian biology. As early human agriculturalists began clearing these very jungles to plant rice, they unintentionally replicated the bamboo flowering phenomenon on a permanent, endless scale. The jungle fowl looked out from the dark canopy and saw fields of endless grain. They did not run from the humans. They calculated the risk. They traded a fraction of their freedom for a reliable, infinite food supply and protection from the apex jungle predators. They walked out of the jungle shadows and directly into human history, initiating a symbiotic contract that would reshape the face of the planet forever. As humans began to capture and breed these birds, they thought they were dominating them, but they were actually being manipulated by the bird's extraordinary genetic plasticity. The red jungle fowl possessed a genome that was uniquely volatile, capable of mutating and adapting to completely different environments at a speed that left other animals behind. Within a few generations, the bird allowed itself to lose its intense fear of humans while keeping its lethal, lightning-fast survival instincts fully intact. It spread along the early trade routes of the Indus Valley, hitched rides on Persian military expeditions, and sailed across the vast Pacific Ocean with Polynesian navigators inside frail wooden canoes. It adapted seamlessly to the freezing winters of northern Europe, the blistering heat of African plains, and the high altitudes of the Andes. It made itself indispensable to every single human culture it encountered. It became a living alarm clock, a religious icon, a source of entertainment through cockfighting, and a walking pantry. But as the centuries rolled on, the relationship shifted from mutual utility into a dark, highly calculated dependency. Humans began to build massive global infrastructures purely to keep this single bird species alive, warm, and fed. We clear-cut massive rainforests just to plant soy and corn to feed them. We construct climate-controlled megastructures to protect them from the natural elements. We map their genome with advanced supercomputers to understand their resilience. The jungle fowl had successfully convinced its primary predator to become its permanent protector, caretaker, and global distributor. Yet, beneath the calm docility of the modern farm bird, the ancient, razor-sharp software, the jungle survivor never truly vanished. It was merely compressed, waiting for the environment to shift once more. The modern chicken walks with a distinct, rhythmic, forward-thrusting gait that looks entirely comical to the untrained human eye. But if you slow that movement down beneath a high-speed camera and strip away the feathers, the illusion of comedy vanishes instantly, replaced by a deep, instinctual chill. That movement is not avian, it is theropod. Every single time a chicken takes a step, it is executing the exact kinetic mechanics, weight distribution physics, and predatory balance of a Tyrannosaurus rex. This is not a metaphor or a loose biological comparison. It is a literal, evolutionary fact. The chicken is not merely a descendant of the dinosaurs. Phylogenetically, the chicken is a living, breathing dinosaur. When the catastrophic asteroid struck the Yucatan Peninsula 66 million years ago, wiping out the massive, terrifying monsters that ruled the planet, it did not destroy all of them. A small, feathered lineage of avian theropods survived the firestorm, crept out of the ash, and began a long, patient march through deep time. When evolutionary biologists first began mapping the avian genome alongside fossilized proteins extracted from exceptionally preserved T-Rex bones, the scientific community was stunned by the results. Out of all living creatures on Earth today, the humble chicken shares the absolute closest genetic matrix with the apex predators of the Cretaceous period. The terrifying claws that tore through prehistoric flesh were not lost. They were simply shrunk into the scale-covered feet of the bird scratching in the date. The massive, powerful tail that balanced the weight of a multi-ton killer was structurally absorbed into the bird's fused tailbone, shifting its center of gravity forward but leaving the underlying muscular structure intact. When scientists attached weighted, prosthetic tails to modern chickens in controlled laboratory settings, the birds instantly reverted to the wide, heavy-stepping, predatory walk of a bipedal dinosaur, unlocking a dormant locomotive program that had been sleeping in their DNA for millions of years. This dinosaur legacy is not just structural, it is deeply embedded within the chicken's sensory apparatus and brain chemistry. A chicken possesses a visual system that makes human sight look practically blind. They can perceive ultraviolet light, allowing them to see a spectrum of colors and patterns in nature that are completely invisible to us. Their eyes operate with 5 distinct light receptors, enabling them to detect the microscopic movement of an insect or predator kilometers away in less than a millisecond. More unsettlingly, their eyes can function completely independently of one another. One eye can lock onto the ground, focusing intensely on a single grain of food, while the other eye tracks the sky, analyzing the movement of cloud for the silhouette of a hawk. This dual-processor visual system is a direct inheritance from prehistoric predators that needed to hunt while simultaneously avoiding becoming prey themselves in a hyper-violent world. Even the way a chicken processes fear and territorial dominance is purely primeval. When a rooster stands on a fence post at dawn and unleashes its crow, it is not greeting the sun. It is a territorial acoustic weapon, a sonic boundary marker that uses specific frequencies designed to travel long distances through dense foliage, warning all rivals that this territory is occupied by a lethal combatant. If a foreign entity breaches that boundary, the chicken's behavioral mask drops instantly. They do not fight like birds, they fight like theropods. They raise the feathers around their necks to inflate their perceived size, lower their heads to protect their vitals, and leap into the air to strike downward with calcified, dagger-like spears located on the backs of their legs. They aim directly for the eyes and the skull, utilizing a relentless, systematic brutality that echoes the ancient hunting strategies of velociraptors tracking prey through prehistoric tall grass. This hidden, ancient biology becomes terrifyingly apparent when chickens are placed in an environment devoid of human control. If a flock of domesticated chickens is released into a wild, forested area, their behavior undergoes a rapid, generational regression. Within a matter of weeks, the heavy, sluggish characteristics bred into them by human farmers begin to shed. They grow leaner, their muscles become denser, and their flight capabilities return as they learn to launch themselves back into the high tree canopies to roost at night. They form tight, militaristic packs that hunt small mammals, lizards, snakes, and frogs with terrifying efficiency. They do not peck at their prey like a small bird. They surround it, isolate it, strike it to the ground with their feet, and tear it apart using a coordinated group hunting dynamic. The domestic farm animal vanishes, and the ancient, calculated predator steps right back out of the shadows of deep time. Within every single flock of chickens on Earth, there exists a silent, invisible, and utterly ruthless social operating system known as a pecking order. To the casual observer, a group of chickens looks like a chaotic, random collection of clucking birds running aimlessly across the ground. But if you watch closer, recording every interaction with mathematical precision, you will find a highly structured, autocratic society that functions with the cold efficiency of a military dictatorship. Every single individual within that flock knows its exact numerical rank. Bird number 1 can peck every single bird in the flock with absolute impunity, and none will dare to strike back. Bird number 2 can peck everyone except number 1. This continues down a brutal, descending linear ladder until you reach the absolute bottom. The lowest ranked bird, an individual that is systematically pecked by every single member of the flock, forced to eat the scraps left in the date, and denied access to the safest roosting spots at night. This social architecture is not born out of random cruelty. It is a highly evolved survival algorithm designed to suppress internal chaos. In a wild environment, internal fighting within a group attracts predators, wastes precious metabolic energy, and destroys the group's cohesion. The pecking order solves this problem through a brief, intense period of initial violence. When new birds meet, they engage in furious, lightning-fast duels of dominance, striking with their beaks and spurs until one submits. Once that submission occurs, the psychological hierarchy is locked into place. From that moment on, a simple, subtle lowering of the head or minor, symbolic peck is all it takes to maintain absolute order. The flock becomes a single, coordinated superorganism where every member accepts its place for the collective survival of the genetic line. But this system requires a level of cognitive complexity that scientists are only just beginning to comprehend. To maintain a linear pecking order, every single chicken must possess the ability to recognize, remember, and track the social status of up to 80 distinct individuals within their flock. They do this by analyzing the unique geometric shapes, color variations, and features of each other's combs, wattles, and facial structures. If you alter a high-ranking chicken's appearance by painting its comb or attaching an artificial feather, the flock's internal computer glitches instantly. They no longer recognize their ruler, the social code fractures, and the flock will instantly launch into a hyper-violent civil war to re-establish the hierarchy. This proves that their social order is not based on simple instinct. It is a continuous, dynamic mental calculation requiring advanced facial recognition capabilities that match modern artificial intelligence. Furthermore, chickens possess an astonishing capacity for what cognitive scientists call logical inference. If a chicken watches bird A dominate bird B, and then watches bird B dominate bird C, that observing chicken can mentally deduce, without ever fighting bird C, that it is naturally superior to bird C based purely on the observation of the social chain. This level of abstract, transitive reasoning was once thought to be a strictly human trait, completely beyond the reach of the avian brain. This cognitive power allows them to form complex social alliances within the flock. Lower-ranked hens will often form quiet coalitions, foraging together and protecting one another from the aggression of mid-tier birds, subtly manipulating the social dynamics of the flock from behind the scenes like politicians working in the shadows of an empire. This highly structured collective intelligence takes on an entirely new dimension when the flock faces an external threat. The pecking order instantly shifts from an internal system of control into an external defense shield. The high-ranked roosters and dominant hens do not hide. They take up tactical positions on the periphery of the group, putting their lives at risk to act as sentinels. They scan the horizon and the sky, constantly cross-referencing sensory data. If a threat is detected, they do not just scream blindly. They utilize a highly sophisticated acoustic language, deploying specific alarm calls that communicate the exact nature of the danger. A sharp, high-frequency whistle means an aerial predator is diving from above, prompting the entire flock to instantly freeze or dive into dense cover. A low, rhythmic clucking indicates terrestrial predator approaching on the ground, directing the flock to move in the exact opposite direction. It is a real-time battlefield communication network that keeps the collective alive. In the mid-20th century, humanity took this ancient, highly adaptable avian survivalist and subjected it to the most intense, systematic, and technologically brutal artificial selection experiment in the history of life on Earth. We created the modern broiler chicken. Through a relentless process of genetic manipulation, nutritional engineering, and industrial scale, we altered the physical form of the bird to a degree that makes it completely unrecognizable from its jungle ancestors. The modern industrial chicken grows at a rate that is practically terrifying. In 1957, it took 84 days for a chicken to reach a market weight of under 1 kilogram. Today, a modern broiler reaches nearly 3 kilograms in less than 4 to 7 days. Their muscle tissue develops at a speed that outpaces their skeletal structure, creating a biological anomaly that consumes less feed while producing an unprecedented mountain of protein. This hyper-acceleration of growth turned the chicken into the ultimate biological transformer. They are the most efficient converters of grain into meat on the face of the planet. To produce 1 kilogram of beef, a cow requires up to 7 kilograms of feed and thousands of liters of water. A modern chicken can produce that same kilogram of meat using less than 1.7 kilograms of feed. This extreme metabolic efficiency turned them into the foundational bedrock of global human nutrition. Every single day, hundreds of millions of chickens are processed through automated industrial matrices, their bodies disassembled by precision robotics, packaged under plastic, and shipped to every corner of the global market. They are the invisible fuel cell that powers the modern human workforce, an artificial ocean of biomass that sustains the modern megacities of the 21st century. But this extreme industrialization has created an unprecedented geological phenomenon. Because billions of chickens are consumed and discarded every single month across every square kilometer of inhabited land, their fragile, hollow bones are entering the Earth's sedimentary layers at an astronomical rate. Geologists and stratigraphers studying the planet's crust have officially stated that the modern era, the Anthropocene, will not be defined in the fossil record by plastic or nuclear fallout. It will be defined by a global, continuous layer of fossilized chicken bones. Future civilizations digging into the Earth millions of years from now will find an unmistakable, uniform layer of avian remains blanketing every continent, marking the exact moment humanity industrialized life. The chicken's physical form has become literally woven into the very geological fabric of planet Earth. Yet, this massive, global concentration of biomass represents a profound, highly volatile biological risk. By packing billions of genetically identical birds into confined, high-density environments, humanity has accidentally constructed the ultimate evolutionary incubator. Viruses, particularly avian influenza, look at these endless grids of living hosts as a vast, open landscape for rapid mutation. In a natural ecosystem, a highly lethal virus quickly dies out because it kills its host before it can spread. But in the hyperdense environment of an industrial poultry facility, a virus can jump from host to host with lightning speed, mutating through millions of generations in a matter of weeks. The chicken's immune system, constantly strained by hyper-accelerated growth, is forced into a non-stop microscopic warfare against evolving pathogens, turning these facilities into biological flashpoints that threaten to breach the walls of human medicine. This constant, high-stakes biological tension means that the modern chicken is no longer just a farm animal. It is a hyper-complex, heavily monitored technological asset. The global poultry industry utilizes advanced artificial intelligence, thermal imaging, and acoustic monitoring systems to track the health, movement, and vocalizations of the birds in real time. Supercomputers analyze the pitch and frequency of a flock's clucking to detect early signs of stress or respiratory illness before human workers can see them. We have wrapped this prehistoric bird in a massive digital cocoon of sensors, biosecurity protocols, and genetic safeguards, desperately trying to maintain absolute control over a biological system that is constantly straining against its boundaries, waiting for a single crack in the industrial matrix to unleash its dormant power. If human civilization were to collapse tomorrow, whether through nuclear war, a devastating cyber collapse, or an economic meltdown that cuts off the power grids, the billions of chickens trapped inside the industrial matrix would face an immediate, catastrophic reckoning. Within hours of a total power failure, the automated ventilation systems, feeding lines, and climate controls inside the megastructures would shut down. For millions of highly specialized, heavy broiler birds, this would mean a swift end. But the chicken lineage is vast, highly diverse, and infinitely more resilient than the fragile industrial products we see in supermarkets. Spread across the backyards, small villages, and rural landscapes of the world are hundreds of millions of heritage breeds, feral populations, and game fowl that possess the untouched, undiluted genetic architecture of the jungle survivor. For these birds, human extinction would not be a tragedy. It would be an immediate eviction notice from the cage of domesticity, initiating a brutal, rapid global reclamation. Without humans to clew-cut fields and maintain pastures, the world's suburban and agricultural landscapes would quickly revert to dense, scrubby forests, the exact ecological niche the red jungle fowl evolved to conquer over millions of years. The free-ranging chickens would instantly step into this vacuum. Their dormant camouflage patterns, hidden beneath domestic colorations, would become highly pronounced over generations as natural selection rapidly wiped out the brightly colored birds. Their leg muscles would grow lean and powerful, their wingspans would adapt for quick, explosive bursts of flight to escape ground predators, and their razor-sharp behavioral instincts would take complete control. They would look at the crumbling ruins of human concrete and asphalt not as a lost empire, but as a perfect, vertical rocky outcropping for roosting and nesting, safely out of reach of roaming feral dogs and cats. In this new, wild world, the chicken's unique reproductive strategy would turn them into an unstoppable ecological tidal wave. Unlike mammals that carry their young for months, a single healthy hen can produce hundreds of eggs a year, each containing a fully formed, highly independent chick that hatches in just 21 days. Within days of breaking out of their shells, these chicks are mobile, capable of foraging for insects, and already learning the complex nuances of the pecking order code from their mothers. This hyper-accelerated reproductive engine means that while larger mammals struggle to rebuild their populations in a collapsing ecosystem, the feral chicken flocks could multiply exponentially, saturating every forest, abandoned highway, and overgrown city park within a few decades. They would form massive, moving avian superorganisms, sweeping across the landscape and devouring everything in their path. They would become apex opportunistic omnivores. A wild chicken does not just eat seeds. It is a relentless hunter of anything small enough to fit inside its beak. Armed with their ultraviolet vision and split-second reaction times, these resurrected theropods would systematically cleanse a forest floor of insects, arachnids, mice, frogs, and snakes. Their highly specialized digestive systems, featuring a muscular gizzard that uses swallowed pebbles to grind down the toughest organic matter, allows them to extract nutrient from food sources that would leave other animals starving. They would thrive on the detritus of the old human world, turning our ruins into a sprawling, hyper-fertile hunting ground. They would adapt to the changing climates with the same ease they displayed when humans carried them across the globe, proving that they never truly needed our guidance, only our infrastructure. As deep geological time rolls forward, the chicken will continue to mutate, adapt, and diversify into completely new ecological roles. Free from the artificial constraints of human selective breeding, the ancient dinosaur DNA sleeping within their genome will begin to express itself in bizarre, unpredictable ways. Some lineages might grow larger, reclaiming the bipedal predatory status of their theropod ancestors in environments devoid of large mammalian carnivores. Others might develop longer wings, fully returning to the sky to compete with hawks and eagles. The modern chicken, once viewed as a helpless, uniform agricultural commodity, would fracture into a beautiful, terrifying spectrum of wild, specialized survivors. They did not just survive the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, and they did not just survive the hyper-industrialization of humanity. They played the long game, using our global empire as a stepping stone to achieve ultimate distribution, waiting patiently for the moment the human matrix collapsed so they could finally, completely inherit the Earth. If you want to discover the deep, hidden secrets of the animal kingdom and explore the terrifying evolutionary forces that shape the world around us, make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave a comment below with your thoughts on this hidden avian superpower.